This
Okay.
first clip may not look like a lot, but I wanted to ask you about those fundamentals in regards to what are you focusing on, especially early on, skill development wise with your guys, and what are some of those like absolute musts in regards to things like footwork, what they do with the catch, the decisions that
Yeah.
they make, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and watching that's one of our latter games, and it's interesting as you watch games later in the season how I feel like there's slippage. But like right here, we're a little we came off the ball screen a little too quick, but when we catch it, our first thought is got to be eyes to the rim. The most open you're ever going to be is when you first catch the ball. But this our big kid that pops is a really good shooter, and by him just showing the rim, his eyes and the ball, it creates just a little bit longer closeout. Okay. All right. And even though it's not into his feet closeout, he's pretty mobile. The kid is guarding him as a really good athlete, a good shot blocker. But when you show the ball, your show the rim, your eyes on the ball, they just get a little closer. And now, when we're driving the ball right here, we make a big deal about this. When you're driving to score. You're not dribbling to pass. You're thinking score. You have to have the mindset. I'm going to put my hand on the backboard. But when you can't do that, there's got to be a plan B. I think Owen does a really good job right here of playing off 2 feet, keeps the ball tight, and ends up getting his hand to the backboard. Just because I think it all started with the shot stop.
How much time do you all spend early season, mid season, and then towards the stretch run, in the stretch run, working on those fundamentals?
Yes, yes, and yes, every single day. That's how we start practice. I'm going into my 35th year as a head coach, and for the first 20 minutes of every single practice, whether it's the first practice of the year or the last practice of the year, we're going to work on footwork, getting our feet organized, getting our work done early, and shot stops. I just think that's our whole base for where we play, and it's just something we don't try to shortcut. I think it's really easy to get ahead of yourself sometimes, but I know for us that's just the foundation of where we start our offense.
This next clip is going to transition with all five players already down the floor in half court. I did have a coach ask about your all transition offense and the
Hmm.
spacing used. And
Yep.
so, can you talk about what that looks like when you first arrive down the floor, and then the what happens next after that?
Yeah, I think as I'm watching it, I'll kind of go back to the start if you'd like. Like pause it. Like right here, it's as I think. Hopefully, I've evolved as a coach. I think sometimes we quote want to run offense. Well, we need to be playing offense, and you should never forget about being a player. So when we're coming down, we're thinking score. We just really, really try to get to as much space as we can early in the possession, particularly if we have an advantage. Like in this possession, we don't have much of an advantage early. And so now we're figuring out where's the ball and where's the five. And for us, we've got two bigs in the game. So that gets us to a double drag because they're the trails. Okay. What we're trying to do is we're actually trying to get to an advantage. We don't have to score, but we'd like to get their defense fragmented early in the possession. I think so many guys do such a good job of coaching defense. And if they get back and get dug in, it's really hard to score. So we like to get on where's the five and let's start playing offense. All right. Like here, all right, again, you need to be watching what happens in front of us. Our guard does a good job. Now the kid that has the ball when he came off the first ball screen. He was one of the better point guards I've had. He was third in the country in assist to turnover. But once he gives it up, everybody's the same. All right, but now we're always trying to find the five. He's always our fix-it guy. He's a connector. And then when I like that our big has got the ball tight and we're looking at the action, the ball can see the good split screen action. We really want to try to go under that a lot. But when we want to cut the score. That's a pretty good job of not waiting too long for that to develop. Now we play the other way. And as we get to the handoff, we make them play the reject. Now we get it moving to the other side. Now that's a go and catch because when he when he caught that ball in that left slot, he knew that guy was already up into him. So now you got to go and catch, and now we're playing 5 on 4. I don't even know how the possession ended up. I don't know if we scored or not, but we ended up getting the ball in the post, and we ended up getting a backboard layup.
As I talk to coaches, I've had some like Coach Pat Scarry, he comes down 5 out. They like to go like stagger away right from the
Yeah.
start. A lot of
Hmm.
coaches like to go with a single drag. Do you have any like go-to actions? I know you said with the bigs, the personnel determined what you did at the beginning, but is there
Yeah.
anything that your ball handler's looking for initially?
Well, I think a lot of us having verbal cues to tell us what we're doing. Also, you need to know who you are. You need to know who you're playing with. That's a big part of running good offense is, having self-awareness and having teammate awareness allows you to say, okay, if our best shooter is below in the left corner and the ball's on the right wing, that's a really good time to get into a stagger. If our best ball handler has the ball, then we may want to get to just a real quick down screen away, a single screen away, get to a curl or an under, and then let the 5-man flash right back. And now we're into what we call toss game, which we've really gotten into and do a lot more of. So it's more just letting the ball talk, know who you are, know who you're playing with. And, we're always chasing strengths. We really want to work hard at getting to let the guys do the things they do the best. And so we have really tried to walk up to the line of being random without being chaotic. I just have so much respect for the coaching now. You're just not going to trick people. Having the ability to be more random, unpredictable, but also letting that you're in a situation where that you're just not running around and I'm not a big honestly I'm not a big .5 guy. I'm not sure that the ball really sees enough good action in .5. I do think your decision to shoot, drive, or pass can be in that .5, the first look. But if you don't have that, then I'm okay with holding it and let the action take place. I don't want to be spastic. I don't want to be where there's the ball's just running around and it sees no good action.
You've referenced the language a couple of times to describe actions that you all use within your half court offense, as we just saw in that last clip. Once it gets going, obviously it's just dictated. Basically, the actions are dictated by where the defender is, where is their space, where can we get the advantage. But
Hmm.
I'm wondering, even like early on, are the actions primarily dictated by you, called out by you, or is that something that the players really determine?
Yeah, probably the best way for me to explain it, and this we really, really the guys hear this 1,000 times a year is where's the ball and where's the five? The five is the connector for us. He's the guy that sits wherever he is in line in relation to the basketball, tells us what concept we're in. Like there's 5 or 6 concepts that we're just going to play out of, and it's basically alignments. And once we get to those alignments, there's a lot of different things we can do once the ball hits the hot spot or the trigger spot, and we can get to those a lot of different ways. I just want our guys to understand it's okay, to live another day. Like we don't need to try to come down and do something. We don't have to hit home runs. We just try to really encourage them to trust simple, keep chipping away at the defense. And we have to be willing to outlast them by just get to the next concept, get to the next concept. And then at the end of the day, get one of those 4 things we talked about earlier.
I wanted to talk to you in this next one about your ATO philosophy and just sets and plays in general. There's something that I stumbled across this last year. I think it's just from hearing you talk other places, it's something that you all use, but it's the idea of basically stringing together these actions or concepts and not necessarily running these new plays, but I'm able to create almost a new play by just communicating to my players that we're going to run these 3 actions. I guess my
Absolutely.
question is like, how do you go about creating those ATOs?
Yeah, I think that we'd like to go into every game with 3 packages of 3 backdoor plays, 3 post-up shots, 3 ISO plays, and 3 3-point shots. So, and again, so that's 12 plays. Not really. It's just 12 things that we can do out of our concepts. I mean, it may just like this right here. That's just a real simple thing that we work on every single day. It's just a concept we have, but we just ran it out of a 1-4 flat and flashed them. And then like even just the little things, like if you go back to the young man that got the back door, when he does a really good job of cutting late. Like you don't want it late is better. Let the ball hit the floor, let the guy get above you. And then you got to be able to go from 0 to 60 in one step. And you throw the ball to daylight. And I thought the big guy the post did a good job of dribbling at the defender's butt. just there's so many little things. But I think early in the game, we really want to show our base action, and so that when we get into a tight, like right here, this was a big possession. I think we're down 8 right there. We need a bucket. Then we have a counter we can go to that we like, and we were pretty good last year. We've been pretty good traditionally out of timeouts, and our numbers are pretty good from an analytical standpoint.
That is conservative. Literally everything on Synergy says excellent. So you
Uh,
have
I,
been pretty good about
I don't know.
things.
I don't know. We're constantly a work in progress, Tony. I
Right.
promise you.
I always get the question, what do you do as a concept-based offense when the defense plays zone? So I
Yeah.
ask you, what do you do?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. First off, is I sure don't want to slow down. I think again, what are we hunting? We're hunting one of those four things. But then also understand it may look a little different. We have two or three alignments we get to, but we really want to get to them quickly. And then also, a big thing for us is what do we do when the ball gets to certain spots on the floor? I don't care if they're man or zone. If the ball's in the high post, we got to get a guy opposite. We just basically just teaching them, hopefully teach them how to play so that the ball talks. But then also knowing against the zone, there's a couple of hot spots, like right here when the ball hits. I mean, there's just some things that need to happen in order for us to be able to be productive on that possession. But the thing we don't want to do is slow down and back it out. And, our alignments are really, there's a lot of fluidity. I mean, not to give away too much, but if we're in man to man offense, that we call that red. And if they're in zone, we call it orange.
Mm.
That's it. That's really the difference. And then when they hear orange, we're in the same, we start in the same alignment, then we're working to a concept.
What are the things that I've talked with a couple coaches that I don't know why I haven't thought more about it, but it's the use of cutting within their
Yeah.
conceptual offense, both in zone and in man. And I think historically, for no other better word, we often think of cutting to score as in like that guy is going to get the basketball. And if he doesn't, oh well, we'll just kind of go on to the next thing. But as space has become a priority, cutting and how you use it and how you communicate its importance to your players so that they understand if I'm the guy that cuts, I didn't get the ball, I'm never going to cut again. I didn't get the basketball. Why should I cut again?
Yeah, we have two things we say about cutting. The first thing is every time you cut to score or create help. One of those two things has to happen. When you make a great cut, that to me is the most unselfish playing basketball because you're saying I'm willing to give myself up to get my teammate open. And when we cut to score, create help, and you get two shots with every cut. You think layup, then get out to the 3-point line. That encourages spacing. And that what we teach the passer is look to throw behind the cut. You're way too young for this, but there was a football coach, one of the best offensive, the kind of the first offensive ball calling, play calling guy was Steve Spurrier. When he coached at Florida, there would be games that they would have 3 or 4 plays that there's some guy running wide open, nobody within 30 yards of him when they throw the ball to him. And they asked him, how's that guy so open? And he said, because the guys that knew they weren't getting the ball ran the route just like they were getting it. And so everything, we make a big deal about that. I actually put in my notes today. Everything has to be real. Every cut has to be a scoring cut. That's kind of where we land on all that.
Last thing, I thought coaches would enjoy seeing this. Some of it we've already discussed, kind of regarding how you all teach it and drill things, but a practice plan. Can you kind of talk about like some of the highlights and things that, as you look at that sheet, that stand out to you in regards to your offense and some of the things that we discussed?
Yeah, I think when I just glanced at it, and I just sent this over to you right before. It's just random. This is from October the 3rd, our 8th practice. We're about 40 minutes in before we get away from offensive fundamentals. Then we go to individual and team defense. But honestly, I make out the practice plan for the assistants and managers just so they have an idea of the timeline. I just know what we're going to do every day.
Mhm.
There's just certain. I mean, we're going to work on passing and receiving. We're going to work on playing off 2 feet. We're going to shoot. We're going to cut. Then we're going to put those two together where we have offensive development or offensive skill work that's relative to our offense. I think you make shots that you know when you're going to get them and you can practice them. Whether it's fill up threes or shake threes, whatever it is, whatever you feel like these are the shots we're going to get, and those ones we're going to practice. But you also have to understand there's so many little things that get you to that shot. How you play off the ball screen, how you drive the ball to score, not to pass. How you, when you get there, if you don't have an advantage, being able to keep your dribble, don't pass unless you have don't pick up your dribble unless you have a pass or a shot. And then we get into our half court defensive stuff, just very, very, very vanilla. We're working on playing against switching, playing against wedges. What are the things we do 2-on-2 against switching? What we do against 5-on-5, and then we play live. We spend a great amount of time, and I'm looking at this practice plan. It's roughly we went about an hour and 40 minutes, which for us is a long practice. But we probably spend 30 to 45 minutes every day playing live.